I'm gonna go.
All right. Cool. We good? All right. Hello, SNK family. If you are watching this on the replay, hit the comments with hashtag replay. You will know it's a replay because the little guy in the corner that says live won't be there anymore. For those who don't know, my name is Stephanie. This is my lovely wife, Katia. We make up ASK. We are life coaches who help people release their fears and self doubts so they can have a happy and healthy and authentic relationship with themselves, with um, not only themselves, but those around them. As you are live, please hit the comment with hashtag HeySK so we know that our comment section is working. Give me some hearts so we know that our sound is working. If you are new, which means you've never seen either our beautiful faces before, hit the comment hashtag so we can officially welcome you to the HeySK family. I do want to apologize for missing earlier. My schedule was thrown off, and I don't do well with that. So I'm gonna make a reminder tomorrow. I got this. I got my special friend today. Good to you. And we're gonna chit chat. So tonight we're gonna talk a little bit about a common mistake that couples make when they have disagreement. Sometimes if I can get the words out, sometimes these disagreements can turn into arguments, and sometimes it cannot. But either way, the result is still the same if you make a mistake. A lot of the times, couples will almost think the other person's out to get them, or take this approach of instead of like typical couple, at least we say this in the world, except for an argument, and then we have a disagreement. It's us against we're against each other rather than the two of us together tackle the problem together as a team. Instead of viewing each other as a teammate in that moment, sometimes we view each other or view the other, I guess, in that instance, as the enemy. But that's not the case. The enemy is whatever the problem or the perceived problem is. Um, so that's like I said, that's a big one. Um, I know Katia had a little bit she wanted to share, so I'm gonna pass it off and before it comes back to you.
Um, as you know, Steph and I are reading this book called "Fighting for Your Marriage," and a lot of times when people hear um of the book or somebody see you reading that book, they're like, "Oh, you must be having problems in your marriage," and no. The problem is people don't fight for their marriage every day. It should be a daily fight. And fighting doesn't always mean negative. That means you stand in the ring and doing whatever it takes to make sure that your relationship foundation stays strong, your relationship stays strong. So today's topic was built around the topic that we're talking about tonight. And one of the quotes was protecting a relationship means keeping issues and conflicts from wrecking or intruding on the great times that bond the two of you together. And a lot of times, hold on now, sorry. A lot of times, uh, people don't have a whole lot of great conversation is because sometimes great conversations lead to arguments. So the the amount of great conversations you have decrease because of the end results. Um, Example: have you ever had a conversation about a TV show and something's going on with a couple in the TV show, and then you and your partner start having a conversation about it, and all of a sudden y'all arguing about something that happened on TV, but then you inserted you in there. Um, I'm learning myself that it's you and your partner against the problem, not the problem separating you and your partner. And that just comes with growth and understanding of both parties involved. that y'all have an understanding with each other. Like, I'm learning that myself, that it's not you and your partner. Um, the problem shouldn't separate y'all. That, if you have an issue, to communicate. Um, and I know for me, I've grown, or I'm growing in an area where if we have visited this problem before, or it's a similar problem that falls in that category, I tend to shut down because I'm like, okay, we've been here before, maybe not in direction, but I know where it ended, so I'll just back off. Um, Without giving it a shot. Just because you visited something before, um, y'all have grown. You and your partner have grown. Y'all have grown together. So, have a conversation about it. I think it's an
Yeah,
awesome thing.
it is. Sorry,
Hmm?
you know how like sometimes like I remember back in like high school or middle school or sometimes where you two have like a common you bond over a common enemy. Like if you let's say let's use work for you and another coworker don't get along with another coworker, you and the coworker will bond because you have a mutual interest or mutual dislike at that point. You kind of have to tackle your problems like that too. Like your problem is that coworker that needs to be bonding over that, over your dislike of like, or like yeah, like in high school, like if somebody was bullying both of you, you two bonded because, you had the bullying was what you had in common. So you kind of have to approach your problems like that.
And you have to, um, I think a lot of times is also you cannot compare relationships. You can't compare a person to another person. Um, you have to take it for what it is, and just grow together. You know, relationships are supposed to be like friendship, and a lot of times, if you argue during the fun moments, less of the fun moments happen.
It takes away
And
the fun. It's not fun anymore.
yeah, it's not fun. So I'm learning to take this approach that it's my wife and I against not allowing the problem to separate us. It's just like, you know, protecting a relationship from people. Think about all the things that have caused havoc in your relationship, like problems that come up. Like, you supposed to look at the like problem. Who are you? Like, you and disrupt the same way a person would come in. And a lot of times, those problems are sometimes attached to people that don't live with you. So you need to look at that problem
Mm.
and look where it came from. Who's the root cause of that? Who's the source? And when you look at that problem, you approach it as if somebody walking in your house unannounced, or somebody walking in your house that don't supposed to be there, and address it. Because sometimes the problem is people or a person.
Yeah.
And how many people are you gonna allow to come in your relationship and wreak havoc? And I know that happens a lot with parents, because people, who have amazing relationship with their parents, they like, I don't want to disrespect my mom, but your mom disrespecting you. And at the end of the day, what parents need to realize is you left your home, you left your parents, and you joined with your partner. So give your kids that same respect. I think a lot of times we put our parents on these pedestals, And uh they shouldn't be put up there all the time. You know, as much as I love my granny, she's deceased, but you need to let your parents know when they out of order. And I put a post in a thing in my story. Let's normalize hanging up on parents when they trying to ruin your day. Goodbye. But we be like, oh my God, that's disrespectful. No, it's not. It's disrespectful that they trying to.
I've done that recently. My peace was disturbed. I was like, okay. And I just let them go on. And then when I had enough of his shit, I just hung up mid sentence. I don't give a fuck what he's about to say. I don't care. My peace, I had a nice little hike. I was feeling good. My endorphins were high. I was in a good space. I was able to use that walk to clear my thoughts. And then, nope, not today, Satan. Click.
Yeah. Some of y'all allowing, some of y'all allow best friends, because sometimes you give best friends too much authority in your relationships and your marriages. Like, let them speak on it. And they have no say. You know, certain things, that's why you need to deal with the problem in your household and with your partner. And you have to set
Absolutely.
boundaries with people. But some people get mad and be like, well, don't come to me and vent to me if I can't. No, that's not how that works.
People need to understand what venting is for. Venting is most of the time it's just literally to get thoughts out. And that's it. Nothing more, nothing less. Like nobody's like sometimes people just vent, they just want to express themselves. And sometimes it feels good. It is another perspective just to hear your thoughts out loud. That's it. They don't want your advice. They didn't ask you what do you think. They just said, look, as I feel. And they went on about the day. People need to understand, recognize when they're asking for advice, when somebody's asking for advice versus they're just venting, you know. And then some people need to learn how to just not give advice at all and just I've gotten really good at when people come to me asking questions to get them to arrive at their conclusions of things.
Yeah, that's a
Like,
good.
or they'll just continue to defend the partner. But I did it, like, I guess that comes from being all those years in counseling because you don't give advice. Like, if your therapist gives you advice, run. And all those years of being a counselor, you just learn to ask questions. Do you think your behavior was good? What is the outcome? If you do this, what happens if you do this? Weigh the pros and cons. And like, well, have you ever considered maybe that person felt this way, or maybe this person took offense when you said that? Just a perspective, and then let them figure out their own conclusions. They can figure. At the end of the day, their perception is still their own perception, but I just try to like get people to think another side for things. My brother said that once. He said, "I appreciate you. That's why I like talking to you because you make me think." Every once I'm going to give you advice. I mean, I might give you my opinion because you called me and asked me, but do what you want. It's your life.
That's a good approach
Yeah.
because sometimes people we as a society, we don't do well with accountability. So we try to find ways to put our problems off on other people. So when it doesn't work out, we have someone else to blame because self accountability, a lot of people lack. But like you said, not giving advice for one is good because generally people have the answers inside of them all along. But in order to build up your partner and your relationship where you are not against your partner and the problem doesn't divide y'all, you have to grow personally, individually, so that you can grow collectively. And I continue to go back to the situation where Steph was coloring in the coloring book. This was a recent situation about 2 weeks ago, maybe last week. I don't know. But it's recent. and it's still relevant. Um, and I came to sit and I turned off one light. There was another light on. In my mind, I was like, I did not need a light. I wouldn't have need both lights to color. And so I proceeded to sit down, somewhat next to her, and she literally closed the book and her energy shifted. I created a problem, but I did not let that problem divide us. I could have been like, why you got an attitude? Like, I just turned on the light. What's the issue? And came aggressive. That is allowing the problem to divide us. It's a problem. She didn't even say nothing. So I knew something different occurred that was an issue. So instead of approaching it to, oh, you got an attitude, I said, I noticed your energy shifted. What did I do and how can I fix it? And if we take that approach more often than not, you will get a less defensive response from your partner. I knew I didn't do it to intentionally do anything wrong. But it's not about you in that moment. All I knew was my actions created a problem, an issue.
And I didn't have like an attitude. Like I didn't say anything. It was just like a shift.
No, that's why I
Like I
said a
probably was
shift
annoyed at things.
in your energy.
Yeah.
There was a shift in your energy. And I noticed it. And I took the approach of, I noticed your energy shifted. What did I do? How can I fix it? And I was like shocked at myself that it came out so natural. And that's how I know I'm growing as a person. You know what I'm saying? Like it came out like I was like, okay, Katil, look at you. You know? And that caused her to pause. And then I reminded her, I'm like, we're trying to work on things, we're trying to grow. I came to you in a, kind manner. Let me fix it. Let me make it right. It's like, you know what? You're right. I closed my book because you turn off the light. I need light to see. And I'm like, communicate with me. I apologize. A lot of times we don't like to apologize, especially when we know we didn't do anything wrong. I didn't intentionally do it. So sometimes we gotta learn how to apologize, even when you know you didn't intentionally do anything. But your
But I
partner
think
was
that also goes
affected by it.
right.
And that's
But
how
I think
you
that goes
keep
to another point. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
now I was just saying that's how you keep you and your partner against the problem and not the problem dividing you is taking the approach of being okay of apologizing. And when your partner sees that you are genuinely apologetic, they'll come back if they know you didn't do anything. You're like, no, it's not you. I appreciate that you took that approach. You know, it creates a less defensive approach and they're more vulnerable and open to express what happened. Sometimes you have to take that approach. But sometimes people are not the bigger person. They like, if I ain't doing nothing wrong, why I gotta do all that? You the one got the issue. There you go. You put the problem, you've allowed the problem to divide y'all when you take that approach. And like it's crazy because I still think about that moment and I hold true to that moment. Like it came out so natural. That's how I know that manifesting affirmations that we say daily is working on me personally, that it's creating a better space for both of us.
I think that also goes to the point of you have to keep in consideration that your partner has your best interest in and that they're not out to get you. I think that would also solve a lot of it. You have to remember, like, whatever they're saying, it should be coming from a place of love, understanding, care. It goes back to the live we talked about last week. You have to consider the source of where the information is coming from. Partner has a history of being supportive and understanding, then most likely they're being supportive and understanding. However, if you have a partner who's not, then you might want to reconsider your choice in a partner, because that's not how a relationship should function. The person should have your best interest at heart. The person should want to see you happy. Not saying they should be willing or want to sacrifice their own happiness, but they should want you to be happy. They should want to support you, thrive. So again, it goes back to, like I said, consider the source. Your partner should have your best interest at heart, and most of the time they probably do. In a healthy relationship, they should. And so when you're having these disagreements, or you don't see eye to eye, or maybe it's turned into a argument or fight, just pause and just be like, you know what? They're not the enemy. They're not out to get me. They're not out to hurt me. So whatever they're saying, just pause, just listen, hear them out. Be some truth to it.
That's true. That's so true. And like, and another thing in a relationship is the same way you shouldn't compare your partner to a past partner or how they y'all dealt with that situation. I think the same thing goes for friendships too, because a lot of times we tend to be like, well, my friend understands, my friend gets me. But what people need to realize that friends are, and dealing with somebody on a friendship level and dealing with somebody romantically is not the same thing. Like there's that y'all don't share spaces that you would with somebody you romantic. They don't get to really, they know you, but I'm just saying, like, they ain't really got to put up with you. So their tolerant level with certain things is going to be different. And watch out for jealous friends too, because they they see that you're happy and they want what you have, and not necessarily the person, but they want the lifestyle that you have as far as happiness. They'll start acting shady,
Hell,
and
they
then
may want the person too. Shit.
they'll start trying to point out things in your partner that ain't there, or they'll wait until y'all have one of those moments where y'all not seeing eye to eye and try to talk you against your partner. People are miserable out here.
And fire. That's why it
Huh?
goes back to considering the source. I said they'll add fuel to the fire. That goes back to considering the source. You have to consider the source.
But sometimes the source is somebody that was reliable at one point. They wasn't always miserable.
Or maybe they were always miserable, but because you were miserable, you didn't notice.
Right. And like, I just know, like, people always want to see you happy or not happy than them. Like, I noticed that when I wasn't in a good space, it was cool. Soon as you find somebody to make you happy, now all of a sudden they like, oh, you acting funny, you acting brand new, you don't make time. But what people need to realize is like, just because you got it takes time to build a relationship. And sometimes, like, you just got to be aware that the problem comes in many forms, and you want more happy conversations than not so happy. And the way you do that is personally working on yourself. Like, I will forever be proud of that moment, because we don't really have a whole lot of moments where you know what I'm saying, it gets crazy. But to know that when it does, that I could take a better approach and get a different response. And like we always say, you have those dig deep days. Those dig deep days become to dig deep moments that are not often happen. And it becomes to a point where you don't have to dig deep. That you have a moment, you address the moment in a healthy manner, and the moment goes away. So then it's just like, oh, we doing good over here. And it's not about people. When people say they're happy, that doesn't mean that they're not going through anything or they don't have moments. They know how to handle them. That's why it's important. Like when you and your partner are good, read on topics that you struggle with. Find books on those levels and actually implement what's in there, because it does no good to read if you're not going to implement what works for you, or at least try something different. And I know a lot of times people try to do what their parents did. What worked for your mom and dad, or your dad and dad, and your mom and mom, might not work for you.
Might not. Might
Might
not.
not work for you. So then you have to find what works for you.
You do.
And I'm just grateful that within my own marriage, that I can say that the problems are not winning anymore. Like we're getting on the other side of where a problem addresses, and then it's two of us against one. And we're like, oh, you showing
Yeah.
up? How can we address you? How can we dismiss you, rather, in a healthy manner, that we learn from whatever said problem is, but it doesn't affect us negatively because we handle it in a healthy manner.
Yeah.
Um, but that only can work if both parties involved wanted to work and you on the same page.
Sure.
Oh, it was another thing that I highlighted while we were reading. It says actively respond to your partner as a teammate, not an enemy. That's powerful. You shouldn't feel like your partner is an enemy. You shouldn't feel like that
Ever.
ever.
And if they are infected, there should be some reevaluation. But you should never, I mean, ever. If you do some self reflection. Are they doing it? Is it just me? If it's you, fix it. If it's them, then fix it.
Yeah. Life is amazing, and it can be when you work together. We are a team, and anything that comes against you and your team, you got to work together to remove it or fix it. Oh, and this is another thing. It says if you tend to be the one who pursues talking about issues, recognize that your partner is your teammate. If he or she pulls away at such times, consider that your partner may simply want to avoid arguing with you, not that he or she doesn't love you. And then another thing that they talked about today while we was reading that hit me is make it a great time to talk when both of y'all are ready. I notice people who are big on talking about it, and I know I've done this. Like I like to deal with stuff, like deal with it and get it over with. But I'm also learning that if you got an issue that you want to talk about, and your partner came home from work and they had a rough day, and you've been waiting all day to talk about this, And they already come in like no, it needs to be a good time for both of y'all to be alert and ready to have a conversation about said issue. You can't be like, oh my God, I wanted to talk to you. Ah. They already had a rough day. So that was another thing that's good that I
Thank you.
took away.
Or sometimes people just need to pause. Like sometimes, like depending you're in the moment, you're in the feels, and like I know for me, sometimes I'm out to be reckless, and so I know, especially when I'm provoked. Like I'm not. I mean, I'm generally a nice person, um, but when prompted, I can be pretty ruthless. So I sometimes like I may need to take a minute to remove myself to get my thoughts together and find a more eloquently way to word what I'm feeling rather than say it exactly at that moment because it's not going to be very well. If anything, it's going to automatically set the person into attack mode or completely cause them to shut down forever, like could permanently damage the relationship. I recognize that about me. And so I don't want to run around damaging relationships because I had a conversation when I wasn't ready to have it and my mouth got a little reckless. Like some people do that. They run around and they just be reckless, be like, oh well, sorry, I was drunk. Oh well, don't let drunk you mess up your life or sober you. Like, but that's how some people operate. I can't do that. Because I don't want to do that. Like I don't want to run around people's feelings. And like unless prompted to. And so if I'm having a disagreement with somebody, hurting their feelings is not generally like my goal. I generally want to.
Yeah, I don't try to hurt nobody's feelings, but I know like I'm learning to allow people to take their space because I'm a deal with it in a moment type person. But I don't like is what people do is you have a disagreement whether with a friend or a partner, and 5 days go by, and y'all within that 5 days y'all done hung out, laugh, have fun, all of this, and then you come back like 5 or 6 days later, or even 2 or 3 days later, and now you want to revisit that problem after like you know what I'm saying? Like I don't personally like that. But I'm like, if you need time to deal. But don't hang out with me. Let's laugh, joke. I'm feel like we like if you laugh and joke with me, but then you turn back angry and go back into argument mode days later, or like I don't like that. I say take your space. Let's deal with the issue so we can move forward and be done. Not have fun in the moment and then come back and be like, well, remember that day? That like we just was laughing. That Dave and Bus is having fun and you going backwards. Like that's what I don't like. I respect people not like me who want to deal with things in the moment. But I don't like let's have fun and then you come back days later on some BS because you ain't get out what you need to get out. But I really like today's reading. I really like that.
Yeah, me too.
And
It's
like
good.
even
Good
though I'm
examples.
away with military training, the fact that we, what I'm saying, take time to still connect. And that's important for people in the military, for people who have a job that's demanding, they keep you away from your spouse often. You have to take time to connect while you're away, even if it's not just for 20, 30 minutes. We read books, that's our thing. We like to read. Some couples are not readers, that's fine. But just a way to connect. Um, you have to. Because at the end of the day, that job will let you go and not care nothing about your family. And then all your years and time of dedicating, hey Sam, of dedicating to that job, when you let that job let you go, you have nothing to come home to because you neglected it totally. Like I
That's like
just
people do with
personally,
kids too.
yeah, I just personally feel like A job can be a problem in your relationship too. Children can be a problem in your relationship. Parents can be a problem in your relationship. And like my thing is, if you set the boundaries with your parents, with your family and your friends, that is you and your partner against everybody else, I think less people will bother you. Not saying some people bold, but less people will bother you. Like, but when you create, when you embarrass your partner in public and you talk about your partner to other people in a negative manner, and you down your partner and just treat them like trash, drag them on social media. You are what you're doing is if you're giving people ammunition to shoot up your home, and I don't mean literally, like with a gun, but like figuratively, like me and my wife, because we are social media figures and we're building a brand, a public brand, we will never paint a picture that we are perfect. But I'm never gonna give you no ammunition to shoot at my home. There ain't nothing nobody can say to me about my wife. Nothing. You ain't married to her and you ain't with her.
Because my husband say Saturday through Monday, the OT Wednesday, and Friday for the last 2 weeks has been hard. He sleep during the day. Yep. I don't miss being on. I shut that shit down ASAP. Yeah, I don't miss being on night shifts. That was like 2 shifts passing in the way. It was rough, and then the days off. Like you trying to you sleepy. You trying to stay up all day and function and go to bed like a normal person. And oh my god, I don't know how y'all do that. I did it with 9 months. I was like, nope, no more. I was desperate then.
Yeah.
Some people like it. There's a nurse is like, that's all I work is night shift, but they like it because it's typically more quiet.
And less the big wigs ain't there night. Most night shift, all the people that would get on your nerve, like supervisors, are not there. I'm not a night shift person at
Nope.
all. When I did
Get you
overnight,
on
I'm gonna get up in the morning, go to work.
listening.
I need to get home.
Yeah, I'm more of a morning person. I want to get up my shit over with and be done for the day. I'm more of a 62, 73 kind of person. Shit, I used to work at Sears during the holidays back in college, and then holiday hours get there like 4 or 5. I'm like me. They're like, what? I'm like, hell yeah. Go ahead. Your lunchtime, your lunches end up being breakfast, and you off by like 1 o'clock, and you didn't work your day. That was beautiful.
Yeah, but I'm
Off of one, and you still the whole rest. Of the
yeah, but it's so exciting to set boundaries, set things up where you are not against your partner. You should never be against your partner. Have we all been there where we allow problems to divide us in our marriage or relationship? Absolutely. No one can never, ain't nobody that on point. Everybody try, but I'm grateful. I can speak for mine that I'm in a place where, you know, when things arise that are not great, that we're in a place where we can have a conversation and not an argument. Because people think, oh, arguments are part of a relationship. They don't have to be. You disagreements, not saying eye to eye, but it doesn't have to be an argument. Argument is a choice. Like, and I'm just so grateful. But that comes with you and your partner being on the same page. Like my wife and I, we say affirmations daily. We work together um on manifesting things. And you have to be on one accord. Communication, you know, has to be on one accord.
shit, I try to stay out while he is at work and talk to him just to spend some time. Just told him we your date night.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you have to express your
Date that. Yeah, it could be a date that y'all could get cute and go to breakfast someplace nice. Um, if that works for your schedules or whatever, especially if you got kids in school, you know, get
yeah stuff.
cute. That way when he come in today, he sleep.
When she was on nights, we've done dates where, we go and do breakfast or do like brunch, and then she would go home and go to sleep before. So you have to
Yep.
make it work, but it and that's not just with y'all, with anybody. Like we literally made it work with our schedule because like we both sacrifice sleep. Her more than me because of her overnight schedule, but I remember like Ubering during her shift so that we could, when I was Ubering and lifting in Virginia, and like I would bring her food at night, bring her lunch. What was her lunch? Um, and I remember like I worked 7 in the morning, and then I would have a break, and I would go to my second job. Um, and she would have me, dinner would be my dinner before I go into my other job. But and that's why we work daily on a plan. Like I personally don't believe in killing myself for these 9 to 5s,
They wouldn't
10,
do it for you.
because as soon as you croak, they gonna have somebody else in your position. That's why we work so hard on our brand. I I don't I don't got time. There are ways to put away money so that you don't have to work your life away. You just have to find what plan works for you and your household. I know everybody has no desire to be an entrepreneur, but you don't have to be an entrepreneur to get on the right side of money. Because these jobs ain't loyal, and I want to travel with my wife. I want to have fun. Um, Sometimes jobs are the problem.
Yeah, I stopped hanging out with people who always have something negative to say about us. This one person would say if it was me, I wouldn't get up in the morning when he got off just to cook for him, or don't stop checking on him. It's all saying you better than me. Don't nobody deserve all of that. The moment I say yeah, I can't hang with you no more, or nobody who doesn't understand a relationship. I mean, single people say shit like that. I know I made some comments because I was like, you was doing much, and even still, some of the shit they was doing and they wasn't in return. You was better. They was better than me because ain't no way. But I agree. Mm-mm. Like a lot of single people say that shit. Like when you in a relationship with in a healthy relationship, like just sit here different. You find ways to sacrifice to make it happen. Like you do it anyways. Like I mean, everybody has their personal boundaries, but sometimes you're like, you know what? I'm gonna get up early just so I can have he can have a nice breakfast when he get off work because he worked all night long. And that could be your time. And that is your time together, especially when you work opposite schedules. Like, you sleep too.
People
Maybe
do,
you nap with him. Mm,
and see you put you in that situation. You chose. You know what I'm saying? That person was the problem, and you got on the right side of the problem, which your partner is a team. And sometimes you got to set people straight, and it's okay. You doing what you got to do for your household. That was your
yep.
time. Just like when Steph worked overnights, we made time. You know what I'm saying? And I had, you know, people mad, exes mad. That little chicken. I'm like, it ain't about the chicken. It's about the act. And people
And it was
hate,
good though.
huh?
I said, but it was good though.
Right.
Trying to
Like
save my
that's how I knew.
chicken. Like,
I already knew Steph. You know what I'm saying? She was treating me like she was treating me like she was my wife before she was my wife. Like before we even made a commitment to each other, she took care of me, made sure I was good, and she didn't have to. At this point, we were just hanging out, and you don't take stuff like that lightly. Well, I don't, cause
me too.
everybody ain't out here, making sure you eat before you go to work or you get off, and
Mm-mm.
so I'm just grateful to
Very
be in a
true.
space where it's my wife and I are true teammates, and any problem that arise, we both gonna stand strong and look those problems in the eyes. Say what? It's us against you. Oh, you thought you was coming between us, but you not. And that problem can be, like I said, parents, friends, children,
Absolutely.
because some people stay married until their kids leave and then they divorce and they like, what happened? Because you put your partner to the wayside for your kids who gonna leave you when they get older. Not saying, and then see, people think because you put your partner first that you neglecting your kids. No, if the head of the household's not happy, nobody ain't gonna be happy. When you invest in the household, the head of the households, which is the parents, whether that's woman and woman, man and woman, whatever your dynamics is, you should never put your partner to the side for anybody else.
Yep. Us against the world.
Yeah, literally. Yep. So that's all I got on this.
I have nothing else really. It's just important. Just remember that your significant other is not the enemy. And if they truly, in fact, are, you need to do some evaluation as to why you stood there. Get it?
So, with that being said, you are the master of your destiny. You control your future. Do something daily to get you closer to your goals. This your girl KG. I'm the K from SK. That is my lovely wife Stephanie. She's the S from SK. Have an amazing night and have an amazing day on purpose tomorrow. Is you and your partner against the problem. Never let a problem separate y'all.